Hey guys, we are live on the air. This is Ron Newcomb with the Rangers. The day has come for us to go live with our project that we have been spending months to do. So we wanted to do this on the air. We're not going to take kind of all day and do this, but we definitely appreciate you guys joining us that are. And in order for you guys to be a part of the conversation, we wanted to give you the opportunity to be able to do that and then hear a little bit more insight as we are getting ready to hit launch on our Kickstarter campaign at exactly 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So the first thing that you can do is, in order to be a part of this, is you can like us on Twitter at the Rangers Film, and you can use that hashtag, the Rangers Film, as a hashtag. We're not going to take. And you want to, but we definitely appreciate you guys. Looks like we're getting a little feedback there. Yeah, if you guys use the hashtag the Rangers Film, then we'll be able to see your tweets and answer your questions and your thoughts and your comments. And we're going to be talking today a little bit about fantasy films, indie films, web series, and then, of course, specifically the Rangers and what we're up to and what we're looking to do with this thing. You can also go on our Facebook page, our Facebook fan page, and find the Rangers there, and you can ask us a question there. We'll be monitoring both of those. So you got Twitter, hashtag the Rangers Film, and then our Facebook page. So we pulled together not all of the team because not everybody could be there because our team has already gotten pretty extended, but we pulled together some strategic leaders that I wanted you guys to meet and get introduced to and kind of hear their thoughts about what we've been up to for the Rangers. First, myself, I'm Ron Newcomb. If you don't know me, I am the creator of the Rangers and producer. I'll also be directing the project as well. I've done some other features. My latest, Rise of the Fellowship, best feature film at Gen Con, got distribution, so you can find it on all the major areas like Netflix and all that stuff if you wanted to check out to see if I'm a legit filmmaker or not. So let's just go down the line and give the chance, the opportunity for everybody to meet everyone. So Paula, why don't we start with you? Why don't you?
I knew you were going to do that.
Yes. So yeah, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you're affiliated with the project.
My name is Paula DeSanti, and I met Ron at Dragon Con. How many years ago was that, Ron? About 3 or 4?
Yeah, at least 3, probably.
Yeah,
4.
At least 3. And I was there with Kate Madison because she came to the United States to show Born of Hope, which she produced and acted in and directed, and I was the main screenwriter for Born of Hope under a pen name, but that was me. And I have an extensive screenwriting background, and I love fantasy, and Ron thought of me when he came up with this project, and he asked me to join, so I'm very happy.
That's right. I mean, how can I not? I mean, you are the, for a lot of us fan films, Born of Hope was like the real first fan film that came out that actually was legit. People saw it. Kate and the team that you guys did and pulled together. And then right at the exact same time, of course, you had The Hunt for Gollum come in. And when those started to come out, people went, wow, you guys can really do it. So my whole purpose was to track you down, Paul, and to bring you in on this team.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. All right, Mark, how about you, sir?
Oh, wow. Well, first off, I'd like to say that Paula actually, you know, for being a screenwriter, she actually does a poor job of articulating her background because she is one of the nicest people I think I've ever met. One of the most talented, and she likes Les Mis, which is like a huge plus in my book. So,
of course.
No, I
pay
just
him
think,
to say this.
No, Paula, seriously, I never get a. I mean, it was almost like old home week here because I never get a chance to like sit and talk to Paula, and I mean, we got to chat before we went live. So, Paula's like, seriously, Paula, you're one of the coolest people I know. So I just love you.
Thanks.
But anyway, I'm one of the co-founders and director of Middle Earth Network. And I jumped on because number one, Ron is our media director and part of the group of founding directors, and this has been kind of a baby of his since he came over to us, and we want to obviously support and urge everybody to go the extra miles to get this creative project, you know, out of the gate, because this is part of a bigger plan, and we can't go into it too much, but we just got back from Hollywood a couple of weeks ago, and some talks and negotiations there. But Ron and I and a few of us other founders have been hatching some plots behind closed doors that will come out here shortly this year, that this will all kind of sync up. But we're really excited about that, and I'm really excited about Rangers. I've been following that, and that's if it's not Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Middle Earth Network, the only thing I hear coming out of Ron's mouth is Rangers. So it's really nice to be a part of this day and finally get to this launch side of things. So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting. I'm glad you guys are on board. You guys have what you guys have done over Middle Earth Network is impressive. Mobilizing fans, encouraging them to become creators, and inviting them into the process is really exciting for fans to be not just viewers and observers, but engaging in all the different outlets that you guys have created, from for opportunities for writers and painters and all variations of artists, not just filmmakers, is really cool. Dan Rebase, how about you, sir? How are you a part of the team here?
Well, I like to think that I forced my way in, despite your protests. No, I've been a friend of Ron for many years, and we did lose touch for a little while, but before we lost touch, I remember he was working on a script for what's now called The Rise of the Fellowship, and I remember when that was just a thought in his head. And then to see that turn into a film, I actually followed the progress of that film as it was being produced. I was following the blog, I was on their website, and when it finally came out, I remember how excited I was to get a hold of that. And it was back then, that's when I started thinking about, man, how can I get involved? How can I sort of shoehorn my way in? And then some other projects came up, and Ron got a hold of me, and I had an opportunity to just to sort of contribute. One of them was the Genre Wars 3 short, and I got to score that, which was really exciting. And just to pause and back up a little bit, my background is I'm a musician, an artist, and I'm a producer. I'm a live performance artist, and not performance artist as in juggling fire. I mean, I perform live. But I'm also a big fan of a lot of the same stuff that Ron and company are a fan of. I've always been a fantasy fan, and I'll admit sometimes it was a little bit in the closet because there was a time when it wasn't cool.
Yep.
But now it's really blowing up again, and I'm excited because I play the video games, I watch the movies, and when Ron got a hold of me to say, hey, I'd love for you to be involved with this series, this Rangers series, man, I got lit up. I was really excited about it, and I just at this point I'm sort of offering bits and pieces, a little bit of scoring here or some graphic design there. But just to be on this team in any capacity is very exciting for me. So I'm on board as one of the artists, lead artists, if you will. Mm-hmm. And but I will also lend my hand to other things like field recording for shoots, any of the audio responsibilities where needed.
Can I put you in as one of our mercenary extras?
Yeah, man, I'd love it.
You're in, sold. All right.
Nice. I'll get some bigger earrings.
Then we'll get a patch. You look like a pirate. All right. Hey, Scott. Let's go to you next, sir. You and I probably the longest relationship has been you and I. So why don't you introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Sure. I'm Scott Mathias, and Ron and I have known each other for quite a while now. I think 2005, 2006. Actually started in a film group together. Did some short films and stuff like that, and then about 2007 is when Ron approached me with this idea of Rise of the Fellowship, and so we kind of worked together, brought it to fruition, and on that project I served at, we formed Open App Productions, and on that project I served as a writer and producer, line producer when we were in production, and for Rangers I'm really excited, and I'm serving as a writer and producer on that project, And producer to me means you're the janitor, you're the jack of all trades. That's what's going to happen. We know that you're going to end up doing everything. If there's something that falls through, you're the guys that end up picking up the pieces. So, but it's exciting. It's fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm glad you're on the team, of course.
I just got to say something here to Scott.
Yeah.
Looking over his shoulder, Scott,
Yeah.
you are like really a kindred
That's
spirit.
right. Yeah.
And that was
One of my
right.
favorites, man. I love
That was
Tribute.
right to my right side. So that was amazing. Great lines.
Yeah. Well, Treebeard. I mean, how can you not?
There you go.
He had a lot of great lines too. All right, Skip. So you're kind of our Ranger expert, man, and really excited to have Skip on the team. Why don't you introduce yourself, Skip, to the team?
All right. So I'm Skip Lippman, and I met Ron through a documentary that I did, Darkon the movie. Was graced enough to win the Best Audience Award for a documentary at South by Southwest in 2006.
Wow.
The film went on to really, and it has a life of its own, and it's sort of become a cult classic. And I've sort of become the poster child for live action role playing, better known as LARP, around the world. And so I met Ron because he saw my movie. He reached out to me to be a part of the Genre Wars film series, and worked on the Genre Wars 3 that Dan scored. And that was really fun. And I was talking to Ron about Rise of the Fellowship, and man, am I kicking myself about not jumping at opportunity to be a part of that project, because look where he is now. Ron said that I'm sort of like the Ranger on staff, and it's true. I have been playing a Ranger since I was a little kid. I was lucky enough to grow up in the game industry, and got to play some of my first Dungeons and Dragons actually with Gary Gygax, and who is the creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And in the 70s, I started my first Ranger character. And his name was the Range Rider, and he had traveled the plains for so long that he had forgotten his name, and it was one of those epic things. And I went on to play him for the next 25 years. And when Ron first approached me with the concept of doing the Rangers, it was just something that's so near and dear to my heart that we have to make it happen. So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this Kickstarter. That's why we brought this team together, and we're going to realize this vision. And the Rangers is going to be something really special. And this is just the first steps in that great journey to exploring this awesome world that's the Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because a lot of us have a lot of the same experiences. I grew up being a jock, and what Dan talked about, kind of secretly, I was a gamer. I would go home and play D&D with my buddies on weekends and nights. But to the ladies, no way did I play D&D. That was like the kiss of death. And but as culture changed and people began to accept you for who you really were, that I realized this warrior spirit was kind of unleashed in me. And also role-playing was the first opportunity, much like what Van Diesel confesses, where I understood the power of story. And to capture the imagination of a young boy and the adventures and the fantasy, role-playing was the first thing that I dove into to understand and have a desire for fantasy and Tolkien, and what that world introduced me to was a world that we could all be a part of. It's kind of the yes, they struggle and they overcome, and their strength in their world gives me strength and hope in this world. It really resonates with me, and moves me even emotionally into action. And I think that the studios throughout the years have attempted to keep doing that. But in the 80s, they took some risk with some fantasy films, and not all of them made money. But to a young guy, they really captured me. And so you have this studio system that had to discern whether or not they were going to continue doing fantasy films and potentially losing money or not. And so they decided not to do them for a long time. No one was doing fantasy, and then boom, here comes Lord of the Rings, and they knock it out of the park. And then we got this reintroduction of fantasy, and yet we're kind of going this resurgence again because not all fantasy films do well. And this is really the desire of the Rangers, is that if we can either wait around for the studios to reboot and remake Lord of the Rings, or there's plenty of more fantasy stories to tell out there that independent filmmakers, not necessarily driven by the formula that the studios have to be beholden to, can step up and do it. And with crowdfunding, it's the unique way to be able to do that. So I realized that the 80s fantasy films were some of the films that really began to capture my imagination as well through the scope of film. And I look back on those films with a lot of love and sentiment. And so I have, of course, several favorites. We went through, looking back on it, we really went through kind of a cool renaissance of fantasy films in the 80s. I mean, we had Dark Crystal, Krull, Highlander, Conan, all these cool films. So I wanted
Excalibur.
Of course.
Yeah. Willow.
A UK production that,
Sword and Sorcery.
Yeah, there's a gazillion. So I wanted to go down the list, the line here, and get your guys' thoughts of your favorite 80s film. And if you're a fan out there watching, give us a tweet at hashtag the Rangers Film. Let us know your favorite 80s fantasy film. Dan, let's start with you, sir. What's your favorite 80s fantasy film?
Wow. Well, does it have to be sword and sorcery fantasy, or could it be sci-fi fantasy?
I'm not gonna box you up, buddy. You do what you want.
It's got to be in between here and here.
That's
Right in between.
Keep you boxed in. I've got to say, I think at the top of the list, for general sci-fi, Blade Runner.
Awesome.
Ridley Scott, right? They're talking about a reboot potentially.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to do them all over, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as sword and sorcery, man, I don't know. It's funny. I remember. Oh man, this is embarrassing. I remember watching Beastmaster and thinking to myself, this isn't all that bad.
Hey.
Are you kidding me? I faked being sick. When Beastmaster came out, I remember it was on HBO, and I woke up that morning, I was like, Mom, I'm sick. She's like, not looking at me like,
How can you not love Kodo and Podo?
And then...
And the dad from Good Times is a beast.
Of course. He was swole in that movie. That dude was swole up. And then by the end of watching Beastmaster, of course, I wasn't sick anymore. I was running around with a sword. My mom was like, "Are you sure you were sick?"
Those dudes are like,
brilliant. I have to say, and when did Conan come out? The first Conan?
Yeah, it was like 82 or 83.
Yeah, it's 80s.
Yeah, I definitely watched that movie many times. Many times.
The Riddle of Steel.
Memorized, so.
All right, so Mark, let's go to you, brother. What do you think, man? What's your favorite 80s movie?
Oh man, well, I don't know if any guys probably have ever heard of this. Skip probably. Well, yeah, I'll give it a go. But has anybody heard of Hell Comes to Frogtown?
whoa.
Yeah, that's my favorite actually. Yeah. It's starring the wrestler from that era called, his name was Rowdy Rodney Piper. But
Yeah.
Give me the name of the film one more time.
It's Hell Comes to Frogtown. It's a classic.
Oh my gosh, you're telling there's a fantasy 80s film that I have not seen?
Yeah.
It's
Really
shameful.
nice.
Well, it's sci-fi. It's more into that, like he's saying right in there. But it's absolutely insane. But after that, I'd have to say Planet of the Apes. Seriously, I mean, it's just like that's an easy, all-time classic. How can you go wrong? So.
I'm saying that's more 70s.
Okay, so I was very much, pre-Star
Yeah.
Wars, so you know what I mean.
All right. I'm just trying to keep my eye on the time too, because we want to make sure we launch at 1500 Zulu Eastern
right.
Time.
That's right.
Give our military protocol.
Can we get global time on that?
Yeah, yeah. All right, Paula, how about you? Give me your favorite 80s fantasy film.
Kind of a toss-up. Princess Bride, of course, but
Oh
that's
yeah.
comedy,
Oh, that's a great one.
which I
Good
just
one.
love, and Lady Hawk, which I
Ooh,
hated.
on it.
The
Oh yeah,
electronic
yeah. That's a great one.
Very
The
underrated.
electronic
Yeah.
score was terrible, and I wasn't crazy about all the costumes, but Rutger Hauer in black leather, baby.
Yeah, for the ladies. That's for the ladies right there.
Hey,
That's
it does it for me too. So any self-respecting guy out there is like, he looks pretty cool in black leather.
Yeah, he did. He looked cool.
He
And
did
I
look
thought,
cool.
Was Dragon Slayer in the 80s?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
That wasn't a perfect movie, but
No, but it was-
Repetitive.
I agree. It wasn't. I 100%, but it did get me. It did hit. It
Yeah.
resonated.
Right.
It's kind of the St.
It's
George.
a dragon.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's a dragon.
But I'm gonna throw out something on that, Paula, and I bet you'll agree with me. But it's those movies that were not perfect. There's something about them that's almost better than the ones that are done too perfectly nowadays.
They're
Correct.
more endearing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sweet. It was nice.
Yep. Yep.
They went after the and again captured the imagination in the story.
Yeah.
Scott, how about you, brother?
Let's see, 80s movie. Well, Paul already said Princess Bride, but there's also Willow. I liked Willow. I think that's Val Kilmer's best movie he ever did.
Oh, yeah.
And
He was great.
yes. And Highlander,
Out of the way.
that's kind of there. That's in between.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Highlander was great. And, I don't know about all the reboots per se.
Right.
Yeah, after a while, it went on
The
too
first
long.
one was absolutely
Yeah,
epic.
tough to start, but
But by the 10th one, you're like, okay.
yeah, Highlander in space.
Yes.
There can still only be one. We thought we already finished that, but
Highlander fights Freddy, fights Jason. Yeah, that one, yeah. Actually, we should make that. We'd probably do really well on that.
actually,
You should have fights Rocky.
you're
in there
right.
Too, so.
There's an audience for that. All right, Skip, bring us home, brother. What's your favorite fantasy, man?
All right, this is picking is so hard because I grew up as a child of the 80s, and as a fantasy freak, just everything captured my imagination. But some of the things that really changed my life were like when The Hobbit, the Bakshi Hobbit, and the Two Towers came on TV, and then when VHS hit, and I was able to watch those movies and memorize this on Frodo of the Nine of Doom. I mean, what more was there? And then I could go to like Gen Con and play on this like epic 12 by 16 foot table where they were playing chainmail with Lord of the Rings, and it was like, who wants to be the hobbits? And like everybody else wanted to be like the forces of Gondor, because you got like 100 miniatures to move around, and I would be like the little fellowship, and I had 3 guys, and we had to run from the Nazgul, and so I would say, yeah, Return of the King.
Yeah,
That would be my favorite one.
yeah.
And just that
Yeah,
epic
you just
thing where Samwise is like, he sees himself as he's got the ring and he's all the power as a little kid. And Ron, that's one of your resounding themes, is that even the smallest among us can make a difference.
Absolutely. And I love that.
As independent filmmakers, that's what we're trying to do. Make a difference in this huge market. And we've got this opportunity with media being global, where so many people can see our work, and it is, like you said, that imperfect but the real story that I think people miss out on with these like super sleek, multi-million-dollar budget films that just don't hit the mark.
Yeah, because they're soulless. They don't get to the heart of the character.
Right. But they've also gotten so slick. I mean, they've gotten almost too visually perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you can't suspend belief anymore. You know.
Yeah,
So
I agree with it. You know, it is that theme, Skip, and when you're thinking you're going up against the studio system, that's what Kickstarter is all about, and it's about uniting fans and content creators and greenlighting projects that we want to see versus what the studios want us to see. And it's that Frodo moment. And so I turn to our Kickstarter page. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, this is an all or nothing project, guys. We either make our goal or we wipe out. We spent a lot of time and effort. We have spent months and months and months to launch this. I've got the launch screen loaded up on me, or on my screen here. I'm getting ready to hit.
Great.
We have really just poured into this. It's actually been since I first came up with the concept of Rangers. I started looking at some notes. I found notes over 2 years ago that I had on Rangers. So, you know, this is, and as filmmakers, these are the stories we want to tell. So we hope you are in agreement with us. We're going to hit launch here. We're going to continue the dialogue a little bit for about another 30 minutes till 3:30. And, you know, please join us in on the conversation and then help spread the word. So here we go, guys. I am hitting launch now. I'm sure we'll ask us a couple more things. Okay, so it's going through a couple things. All right, so I have to hit, I have read these, and I agree. Launch project now. It's, I'm getting the spinning wheel.
Yeah.
This is nerve-wracking. You know, I know it's a little bit anticlimactic.
You know what? It's not nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. All right, so we're live, guys.
Is it live?
Yeah.
Okay. So
We're live, people.
I just found it.
That's it.
Go!
We got a good luck, and we are live.
There you go.
Nice. Nice.
It's such a cheer.
It was.
And again,
I don't know how it came across.
we know it's a little bit anticlimactic, but to all you filmmakers out there, that we know there's several variations of fans, right? There's some fans that want to be filmmakers, some fans that are just want to see better and more fantasy driven content, and you know, we're trying to fill that gap again. So the only way this is going to work is if you get in, and it's extremely important. Not to try to be self-serving, but day one, if you don't hit a certain percentage, there's a very likely scale that you're not going to reach your goal.
Yeah.
So that we ask that you don't. A lot of times, you know, you look at something, you go, I'll come back to that, and I'll kind of donate to that later. What happens is these things get some momentum, and they get to a tipping point. So if you would like to see us succeed, I would ask that you do, you know, try to come in early on, as early as you can with it. All right, so let's kind of go back a little bit to how you guys can connect with us. Twitter, hashtag The Rangers Film, and then, of course, our Facebook page. You can go to our website, therangersfilm.com, and, you know, you can engage with us and see all our social media outlets as, you know, there as well. So I had another question for you guys too that I wanted to talk about, you know, and as a fan community out there, you guys help me out with this. Why do you think fantasy specifically is such a draw? What inspirations? Why do people get pulled into fantasy? Fantasy content in general. It could be fantasy books like Tolkien. It could be C.S. Lewis. It could be fantasy film. I even listen to scores. That's my favorite genre of music is epic scores. I'll put that on my iPod and just go down the road listening to that. What do you think? Let's start with you, Skip. We'll go in reverse. What do you think? Why are people drawn into fantasy?
Well, I think fantasy really is a big draw because in our world where increasingly we are overly civilized, you know, you don't have to go out hunting for your food. Generally in first world and most second world countries, we live a really easy life. You go to work, you get in your car, you go from climate controlled building to climate controlled car in the lap of luxury, and we're not challenged. The last real frontier that's accessible for the everyman is the realm of the imagination, is your fantasy. And it's a place where you can be anything that your heart desires. You're able to reimagine yourself as the hero in a great tale. You know, whether it's rescuing the princess from the dragon or fighting the orc hordes. And then there's the flip side of that, where not only do you get to explore the heroic side of your personality, but you also get to explore the villainous. You know, the treachery, the knife for every back, and really just get down and dirty. And I think that that is another facet of fantasy that is a huge draw for people. You really get to try on different personas through your imagination, and there's no harm, no foul. I mean, that's the glory of role-playing, and especially in live-action role-playing where you're physically acting stuff out. And then, as far as fantasy, it's an escape. It transports you away from your everyday life. Like I said, you know, lemmings in shiny metal boxes. we're compartmentalized. We're sterile. You wash your hands with Purell. It is a way to connect with that almost feral need for adventure and challenging your spirit. And I mean, to me, that's why fantasy is just so amazing. And it's not just fantasy, sword and sorcery fantasy. It is, you know, fantasy, sci-fi, adventure films. Whether it's James Bond or you know, it's really anything that takes us out of that mundane reality where it's workaday. And life wasn't always like that. You know, there was for our ancestors, and actually it's one of the things is we're all heroes. We're all the survivors. We're all the people who made it because we're here on the rock. And I think that each of us has that kernel of you know, it's like the greatest human gift is hope, and that that there's more. And fantasy gives us, you know, the everyday ability to explore our imaginations, to bring more to the universe, and create these awesome worlds like the Rangers. So,
awesome.
I mean,
I agree. I love it, and I love your passion, your zeal. That's why you're with the project. Hey, we just got our first backer.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
Yeah. That's right. Our first backer is.
Yeah.
We got money on the table, people. Yeah. So Scott, how about you, man? You read a lot. Why do you think you know, fantasy draws people in?
I do read a lot. Actually, right here, I have my first copy of I don't know if you can see it, of the Fellowship, Tolkien. You see, it has rubber bands on it. It's falling apart. I got it in 3rd grade. I read this almost every other year. And I actually still read this copy when I start there, and I take it with tweezers and read it. But so I've loved fantasy for a long time, just like a lot of us. I think part of it, I agree with Skip. I may take one different approach on our world nowadays. Is that the work that we do, at least for me, the office. I don't think we're made for all this office work and this road mundane work that we do. Hope my boss isn't listening. But you know, sometimes I think we need the fantasy and the escape way of. I mean. You have a really bad day at work or something, you can't pull out a sword and start smashing stuff and going crazy and letting it out. So in fantasy, you can kind of get beyond yourself. I'm also, like I said, a big fan of Tolkien. I think a lot with fantasy, depending on the type of fantasy, is that it really speaks to stuff that's beyond us. You know,
that's right.
And that's what Tolkien talks a lot about, the sub-creation, about the, you know, I think that's why his work works so well. We won't go into that. We could have a deep discussion about that, but why it's so enticing. But that there, you know, there's more than just this physical, you know, I'm touching this computer, I'm sitting in this chair, and I think we know that, especially nowadays as maybe society tries to push the science more toward this is all that exists. So I think it takes us beyond that.
Holy moly, we just got a second backer. Take a look.
There you go.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, did we?
You know.
Yeah. Take a look.
In a big way or what?
Oh,
In a
thank
big
you.
way.
Look.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I know there's some fans out there, people.
Wow.
Cool.
We got all right. That is epic. That is epic.
Awesome. Way to
Awesome.
go.
Javier, thanks a lot, man. I think you were our first backer, Javier. That was great. I appreciate that. And then I'm going to find out who somebody just hit us up for a big amount. That's very cool, very epic. We love to go epic. That's my word of the day. So if you can give epically, that's always a good thing. Yeah, Scott, I kind of cut you off a little bit there with my excitement.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes, I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna. No, that's great. That's awesome. I mean, that's what we're here. That's what we're here for, and not really so much to talk about our views of fantasy, but to encourage people to get to this campaign. No, I was just going to say, really, just the idea of going beyond us, and also for me, fantasy. I know, like you said, I'm a big reader, Ron. That's how I learned about nobility, about faithfulness, about all the virtues is by reading these stories. I'm not a how-to book person. They drive me crazy. I know a lot of people love them. That's fine. I just can't really read them. Give me a story where the characters are really, enacting those virtues, then I learn it. How-to book, I fall asleep, put it aside, that kind of thing. And then the last thing, and I don't want to go too long. It says I think we're imaginative people. So we just need to exercise our imagination, and just like we got to exercise our body. And honestly, people who don't have a lot of imagination, I don't get them, but I know they don't get me either. I mean, we're just kind of, but that's just, and that's what fantasy is.
I think it's great. Through fantasy, you learn a little bit about not just yourself, but who kind of, we should be and born to be, the nobility, the righteousness, the heroism, Frodo's epic journey, when you feel like a little bit like you're like Frodo going up against it. I like what you said too about the all-stake high moment when you can think work is such a big deal, and then you see what Frodo went up against with. It really was an all or nothing moment. That there's people out there right now fighting in a foreign land for us as Americans, at least in Afghanistan, and a lot of our allies too, sending troops over to different things. We see things in Crimea with what's going on in Ukraine. Things that we know are challenges, and men and women are facing it, and then just everyday adversities. It's nice to kind of get outside of yourself and what you think is such a big grandiose thing, and realize that there is a bigger thing of it all. So Paula, how about you? Why do you think people are drawn to fantasy?
Well, at the risk of dating myself, I'll just say, Calgon, take me away.
I remember that.
And really, it was for me, even as a kid, it was. I want to be on an adventure. I want to follow that pathway. What's over that hill, and what's beyond those mountains? And it's a different. People who like that sort of thing, they just know it's just in you. You want to explore. You want to see the unknown. And also with Tolkien, I've been a huge fan. I want to see. I'm for the good guys. I want to see the nobility acted out, and even if it costs that person everything, their faithfulness and their nobility and the desire to do what is right. That's those are the characters I love. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be trying to do the right thing. So, and then you add swords and horses and dragons, and I'm there. I'm there.
Yep. I totally agree. It's fun to kind of go into that world, and when you get drawn in to heroes that are, like you said, flawed, but they overcome those personal demons, and they have good character arcs and things. You get drawn in, and through fantasy, you can really go kind of big, which I've always loved. Mark, how about you, man? You see a lot. You see with the network a lot of people coming to the network and so forth. What do you think, man? Why do you think people are drawn into like a community like Middle Earth Network?
I think that G.K. Chesterton said some time ago. He said that people should take their tea up on the top of a tree every afternoon because it changes their perception of the world. And to paraphrase C.S. Lewis, he talks about we walk through this corridor of life only half awake or mostly asleep. And these stories that we're all talking about, they wake us up. You know, if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell, Hero of the Thousand Faces or the hero's journey, it's something culturally across the world that connects us in these things, in these stories. And somebody asked me, I got to speak at a university actually a couple days ago, and one of the students said, well, why do you think there's so much dark fantasy out there right now? And I said, you know, good question, but I said, I would say because there's not enough good fantasy out there. And so that's why, you know, I support the Rangers, because it's good fantasy. It's fantasy that comes from the heart. It's fantasy that comes, it wakes us up. What everybody's saying here, it brings these things of nobility, of friendship, of these greater virtues. And if we can get someone to stop, and that's, you know, Middle Earth Network, we consider it almost like a mission, or, you know, to you know, our you know, saying is we inspire the world we live in by sharing these worlds we have in common. But I really personally believe in passionately about content like this, like Rangers, that if it can cause someone to go, or a kid, you know, in the 80s, you know, companies spent, you know, maybe $100 million on marketing towards teenagers. Now they spend $169 billion just for that, a real specific age group, and that's just in this country, you know. And so they're getting influenced like this every day, you know. And we can be that glimmer, we can be that gleam, I think, where we say, hey, wake up, there's more to life than this. You know, there's more to life than I love what Skip said about the aluminum or the shiny lemmings. You know, there's more to life than this. If we can get someone, how many times have you, because you've seen the Lord of the Rings, you know, or because, Scott, because you've seen, you know, you read The Lord of the Rings, or you saw a painting of it, driving along on your way to work, and you see a tree or a meadow, and you're like, oh, man, that's like something that dragons could live in. But it reminds you to look at the world differently. And Ron, I'm so happy that you're a part of the network, but I'm so happy that you've taken on this project, and you know, this is your baby. I mean, you know, and we're behind you, you know. The network supports everything you're doing, and obviously it all works hand in glove. But for everybody out there, you know, Ron is you know, financing this. We haven't been able to lend a lot of network support in terms of finances over it. It's the fans. You know, we've got a lot of other things going on, but it's the fans that really carry this. It's the people that join with us, I think, and make this a mission to wake people up.
Yep. No,
yeah, so I get a little preachy at times. So.
No,
that's great.
Yeah, preach on, brother. You know, that's yeah, I think the sentiment is there, and I love all these different viewpoints of a very similar scope of what draws not only us in but others in, and hearing that voice and putting words to feelings helps with that. Dan, how about you, brother? Why do you think people are drawn in and inspired by fantasy content?
It's sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
I think my answer is a little more shallow, but you know, I think the truth behind it is, you know, the stories aren't different. The stories don't change. Good versus evil. There's love. There's combat. There's strife. There's unsurmountable challenges. You know, with fantasy, we get to trade, you know, say a spaceship for a dragon. We get to trade bullets for either arrows or or fireballs being, you know, summoned from the fingertips of a wizard. You know, you look at things like martial arts. Martial arts is very sexy. I mean, there's something very appealing about the way it looks. It's an art form. It's beautiful to watch a really good martial artist practitioner do their thing. It's almost like a ballet, but really for guys, I guess, mainly, or anyone that likes that kind of thing. Well, so then you put a sword in that person's hand, and you give them a really cool rockin' outfit, and you got fantasy. You know, so what you're doing is you're sort of cherry picking all the most stimulating things, and you're putting them all in the same pot. You're taking the stories that have survived the test of time, which everyone tells over and over again. You just change the names and some of the circumstances, but point A and point B, for the most part, you may have three overarching themes, but between point A and B, that's where the variables change. But then you dress it up with all your favorite things. Fantasy is more colorful. It's just more colorful. You've got a lot more. It's a living painting. You know, growing up, one of my favorite artists was Frank Frazetta, because he was raw, he was gritty, he was emotional, he was stern, and he had this great feel for color and how to take a very bland and mundane background and put a little fire in there, which is this glowing orange thing. So we take that, we put that all in there, and what you end up having is a great story that has been, for any 3D artists out there, they'll know what I mean by this, which has been skinned with something that's more sexy, more attractive. Yeah. And so that's what I think is part of it. It's also a little more intimate. You know, there's something about hand-to-hand combat. There's something about meeting your enemy face-to-face, being close with them. There's something about, you know, struggling with somebody. You know, wrestling is a very intimate thing. Any kind of hand-to-hand combat is. And also, when it comes down to it, it's all based on achievement. How good are you at what you do? That's going to make the difference between life and death. You know?
Yep. No, it's a great answer. You know, I appreciated what everybody has said up to this point, and all the things that resonate, that you guys talk about, resonate with me. And I guess that's one of the things that excites me the most, not just about Kickstarter, because you can go out, and we could have went the traditional route to try to raise funding, and some people may see Kickstarter as a way to try to get money in, but to me it's way more than that. Kickstarter, one of the things that it's done, I think, is it's given fans the opportunity to have a voice in what they love. And so it gives them the ability to not only support them and back them, but it gives them a voice in the project. It unites us. One of the things that I love the most about fantasy, and when I find other kindred spirits, is that I feel that I'm not alone in life, and that resonates with me in this life, not in some place where I can escape. It actually touches me in the here and the now, is when I feel like you all know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm feeling. You know, we have pulled together just some great teammates that couldn't be here, that I just wanted to make mention to as people, you know, kind of dip in and out of the conversation here. We've got some guys that I've been longtime friends with over at Warpaint Publishers coming on board. We've pulled in Medieval Collectibles. They're giving us a lot of the wardrobe and props and things to be able to outfit our team. If you want to be able to look like a ranger and do some cosplay, we have a very granular story. You know, where we have a card game as one of the rewards that we really want that you guys to know about, from miniatures to the card game to all the different layers that we have. We're excited about kind
Hey, Sarah, I have a microphone on. Hey, Sarah.
Okay, so a whole transmedia package. Looks like Skip is.
I'm back. Sorry.
For me. Yeah. So, you know, it just really excites me, not just about the opportunity for communities to be able to fund a project, but to unite around the project, and you know that they are united around that. One of the things that I did want to mention too is that I so appreciate the feminine voice that Paula brings, and she's one of our writers on the team, so I wanted the ladies know out there that, you know, this isn't just a guy project, that we are giving a voice. There is, you know, guys like to be romantic too. You know, they want to be able to rescue the beauty and to have reasons to fight. And we also have some very good and strong warrior shield maidens within our story developed. And then also, you know, we're also a very multicultural group as well. So the team is more diverse than just the several Caucasians you see before you here, and our universe is also that way as well. We're looking at a lot of different cultures that we want you guys to resonate. If you're not just Caucasian, then we want you guys to be represented as well. This is a true fellowship of the world that we live in. And the actors out there, we're going to be filming in Northern Virginia, likely in around June time frame is what we're planning right now, if things go well. So if you want to audition, you can go onto therangersfilm.com and you can find out how to audition for the project. You can just audition on YouTube. You'll have to maybe potentially kind of get you here, but you can audition. My first love is acting. I wanted you guys to be able to do that. Another backer we just had is one of the guys that I grew up with, realizing things about myself that was a great buddy and ally, is Caleb Muir just came in and backed us. We're now up to 4 backers so far. We also got Zach Jacobs. Zach was our photographer for our what you guys just probably saw in the video for our teaser. So yeah, we're excited about this huge group that we have. The granular story, Scott. I mean, you've written a lot of different stories in the scope of like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. I mean, how layered and deep do you think we've gone here with our story?
Oh, I think we've gone as layered, and will go as layered and deep as Lord of the Rings, as Game of Thrones. I mean, that's really part of the key, and to have such a big world to work in. I mean, there's a lot of territory. I mean, even what we're doing with the series, we know we're going to be successful with this campaign, or to go even further, it's only going to really touch just an aspect of this world.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that it's going to be behind, just like in all these great stories. That really kind of is a foundation that it's built upon.
Yeah, you feel that things are bigger and there's more out there and things like that. So yeah, it's great to see old friends kind of coming back together, especially ones that I shared like my fantasy adventures with and grew up with. As we go forth in kind of our own separate ways for the rest of the day, and I'm going to be trying not to keep hitting reset on my Kickstarter page to see how it goes. I really am excited about this journey. I hope you guys out there, the fans are. You guys have seen just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to offer. We're going to be giving updates and so forth as well to try to bring you deeper into the rabbit hole of the story that we have. But there's some big reveals in the script that we can't give away so much that everybody knows about it, and when you see it, it's not that much of a surprise. So we hope that you'll join us, spread the word, have a dialogue with us, communicate with us. That's what we're really looking forward to, is not only giving our story a voice, but to give you a voice as well. And we hope you guys will do that. Any other kind of final thoughts, team, before we sign off and go spread this wealth of knowledge of Kickstarter out there?
Yeah, I mean, Ron, I just wanted to touch on the fact, and something that was just brought up is, how big the scope of this world is for the Rangers, and how much we are bringing to our fans and fans to be, and that we want them to be able to play in this universe with us, and that's something you were talking about, something that Dan and Scott were talking about, and that's that it's touching people's lives, sharing the fantasy, and making the world of the Rangers a reality. And it's going to be, and we envision so much more than a web series or just a film or novelization. It's going to be a shared reality that we can really explore for the rest of our days.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the whole transmedia approach is, role-playing games, graphic novel, board game, video game. We have all these ideas. Scott,
wait till they see the card game.
I know, the card game is epic. Dan Rebase and Nicole, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, has really laid out a nice, cool card game. We've got a epic, one of the best guys doing miniatures is going to be doing our Lieutenant Wolf miniature. If you've seen Rise of the Fellowship, then you've seen Lieutenant Wolf. He is the actor Wolf J. Sherrill, played Baba Melvin in Rise of the Fellowship.
Amazing.
Yeah, he is fantastic. He's a professor of acting down at James Madison University in Virginia, has graciously agreed to be part of our project. We're looking and reaching out trying to get a A-list talent potentially even attached should we reach some of our stretch goals and so forth. So this thing could just go as big as the fans want to take it, and we want it to go there. We want to take you there. Skip has done a phenomenal job of kind of laying a roadmap of this story and has spent hours and hours dreaming about what this story is, and we have many different factors from our own version of dark elves to and tackling many cultural things as well, from just very, very fun. Skip has also been training to be one of the primary actors. We've gone into Ranger tactics and military protocol and rank and file, and you just wouldn't believe how granular this is, and we get an opportunity to keep pulling back and showing you guys. I think you're just going to love what we have in store for you guys. We're excited. We hope you guys are excited, and with that, we'll do more.
Don't forget to tell them that if they can't get enough on the Kickstarter, go check out the Rangers at My Middle Earth. There's story teasers there. We're going to be updating everything everywhere. There's going to be lots of stuff to see over the coming weeks. So if you checked out the Kickstarter today, check it out tomorrow. Check it out next week. Watch us grow with us.
A lot of updates. We got a lot of stuff planned over the next. It's a 33-day campaign. It's an all or nothing. We live or die together. I'm glad you guys are on the journey with me, and I'm glad you are too. And we want you guys to be a part of it. You want to be an extra, you want to be a ranger, you come in and let us know. I want to leave on one final thought, and it's this concept that we've come up with called the Fourth Ranger, and we're giving you the opportunity to take a photo of yourself as the Fourth Ranger. It could be guy, girl, doesn't matter. You put yourself in some cosplay, look like the Ranger, put it up on Facebook. The most hits they get on Facebook, we're going to invite you on set to be one of our Rangers on set in the film. Now, you may get killed off by an orc, unfortunately, because there's bad, dark orcs out there. We have a whole subculture of orcs if you're an orc lover. All right, we don't just ghettoize them. These dudes are awesome. You want to see them come to life. All right, guys, we'll see you again. We're going to be updating you often. We're excited about the project, and we hope that you will join us in our efforts. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Okay.